What is going on, everyone? Griffin here, coming at you with some VIVI gameplay. Today we're going to give our first impressions of VIVI since she has been released in Rogue Company. So let's head over and let's talk about it. So VIVI is kind of a polarizing character, especially since they released the character and then there was a follow-up hotfix for pretty much for that character specifically to a certain degree. You had a lot of changes in that hotfix that was kind of centered around VIVI as a character and also her weapons as well. So it kind of threw that idea of like first impressions, general overview of the character kind of out the window until I could become more accustomed to playing her, especially since the changes were made. And I know I made a video last week about those changes and how they kind of impacted the character overall, but today I'm just going to give my general first impressions of the character. So when it comes to character design, I really like the design and the aesthetic of the character. Being a rock star and having that persona and that arrogance that comes along with that. I used to play music and I've been around many people that have the very same personality traits that VIVI has. So they really capture that in a bottle, and I do like that a ton. I love her design. I love the Saboteur skin that you get whenever you actually pick up either the pack, or I believe you can purchase that in the store by itself. So that's really cool. I like that skin a lot. Her default skin is fine. I mean, it's purple, it's fine, it is what it is. I mean, it doesn't, the default skin doesn't really say rock star to me as much as like pop star. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, I was expecting a little bit more with their rock star theme and rock star aesthetic than that skin offered. But I do think that the voice lines are good. I do think that the overall feel of the character is good. I do think that there are some annoying parts to that character. Whenever you use her ability, she has to yell and she has to put her, fist up and all that kind of stuff. Like she's hyping the crowd up and everything, which is fine, right? The fist raising thing is fine. Her having a saying every single time you use the ult gets very old very quickly. And this might just be a personal opinion. This might just be all on me. But like, I think it's got a 45-second cooldown, and every 45 seconds you're going to hear her, yell something out. And it's not even like a cool effect. That's the thing. Like, you would think that if you're going to trigger the ability and it's supposed to hype everybody up and it's supposed to be like this rock star kind of portray it, or this rock star that's kind of like getting the crowd amped up and stuff, they could have at least ran that particular voice line through like this weird like filter thing where it sounded like she was yelling through like a megaphone or something like that. At least give it some type of flair in that way to kind of beef it up just a little bit, where it's like, okay, she throws one hand up in the air, maybe she pulls a microphone, she does the, yeah thing or whatever she says, but it's all like coming through speakers and stuff, and it's all amplified and it sounds really cool. I think that would be a better way to make that sound better and to make that a more enjoyable experience, as opposed to like, okay, I'm going to pop this ability and she's going to yell and give an entire speech in like less than 2 seconds. That's just going to be a rambling nonsense. Like, the yell could have been enough, her doing the yell could have been enough. Her, having different quotes and different things that she says whenever she pops the ability would have been really cool and interesting. There's different quotes for the rogues in there depending on different situations and how they react to specific situations. Why can't we have her with like different lines whenever she uses the ultimate ability? That's kind of a small nitpicky gripe thing where it's just like, okay, now I've just got to where I tune it out completely. That's kind of where I'm at with it. It's the same thing with like Chalk's ult, right? Whenever Chalk does his ult, and he starts yelling, I just tune it out. I couldn't tell you what it sounds like. Like, I know what it sounds like, but I couldn't recreate that sound for you. That's how much I've tuned it out. She is technically classified as a support character, right? And I think that like as a support character, I think her, her success rate as being that type of character is definitely on the lower end of the spectrum, right? You've got a couple of supports that you have access to in Rogue Company, where you have Saint, Dahlia, Runway, and now you have VIVI, right? I would definitely rank Saint as a 10 out of 10. I would rank Dahlia as a 7 to 8 out of 10. I would definitely say Runway would be somewhere in that 4 to 5, and for Vivi, I would definitely put her right there on par, maybe a little bit higher. I might bump Runway down to like 2 or 3 on the support scale, and I might put Vivi at like between 4 and 5 there. So that's kind of my scale of supports in Rogue Company, from most effective with Saint to least effective with Runway. And I know that, you know, the whole idea in the Rogue Company high-res camp is like, oh, you know, there's different definitions to support other than someone that is healing someone. And it's like, yeah, technically you're right. But 9 times out of 10 in a video game, when you're talking about a support character, what does that character actually do? They normally heal. They normally provide some type of like buff to their armor or something like that. Like, there's someone that doesn't get fully engaged in the combat unless they absolutely have to. Whereas you have Vivi, who, of course, she has access to 2 healing perks, and her ability does boost a little bit of HP bump on the allies there, but she is made to play very, very aggressively. Very, very aggressively. So what would I do to change her ability? Do I think that the ability is good? Yes, I do. I think from a healing standpoint, I think the ability is really good. Now, there's a couple of ways that they could go about this, and I'm going to offer 3 suggestions here. I think that either get rid of Gadgeteer at Legendary and give her Energize so that you can get the ability more often, so that you can pop it more often and see the benefits of that. B, whenever you use it and everybody's at full HP, have a small lockout when the HP decay actually starts to happen when she triggers the ult. Or C, have it to where whenever you trigger the ultimate ability and people around you are damaged, then it triggers that HP regeneration immediately. Kind of like what the stems do, right? I think if you do one of those 3 things, I think that she would feel immensely more powerful than she currently does, and she would feel very more of a support type role as opposed to being basically a duelist that has some type of ability to like boost her own HP and just happens to be other people around her. You know, I've been trying to play Vivi in a more like group team oriented setting where I save the ability and I pop it when my teammates need it as opposed to when I need it. But it's very hard whenever, like, she's very much designed to be a duelist. She's very much designed to be running gun. She's very quick. She can move around very quickly. She has evade. She can do the slide and all that stuff. So it's very hard to like play her in a team-oriented mindset when like everything else feeds into like her lone wolf playstyle other than the ability. It's very weird. It's very polarizing. As for the slide, I don't mind the slide. I think it's a better movement ability than Juke's movement ability. It's definitely more reliable than Juke's movement ability. I do have some gripes and complaints with it though. There are some weird interactions and bugs and issues that happens when you actually use the slide. Whenever you're trying to slide and you're too close to, you know, a wall or you're too close to a piece of cover, it's for some reason going to force Vivi to crouch, which makes no sense because while you're in the slide animation, you can shoot, but you can also hit the crouch button so that when she comes out of it, she'll be crouched still, right? So it doesn't make sense why they put this logic in there that when you're so close to certain like solid walls and surfaces that it's going to force the character to automatically crouch. It sucks. It doesn't feel good, especially whenever you're trying to navigate around the map. And let's say you're trying to do something cool like slide from one area into another area in this really tight corridor. Whenever you come out of that, you're going to be crouched, which isn't going to allow you to be as successful on that, responsive push than you could initially be if you were to just be in whatever stance that you decide to leave that slide in. I mean, it's simple, right? When you roll, if you press the crouch button while you're in the roll, whenever the roll ends, you should be crouched. 9 times out of 10, you are. Why can't the same logic be applied to Vivi's slide? It just doesn't make sense to me. Being able to shoot while sliding is something that I haven't really seen be very effective. I know that like the developers and a lot of other people were like, oh, this is this whole new mechanic where you can slide and shoot, things like that. And it's like, okay, that's kind of cool, but like I don't really find it that effective. I don't really find it something that is good to do, or like maybe I'm using the dual boyers too much, but this is something that I'm going to have to work on and test on just a little bit. But like it just doesn't seem very beneficial to me. If you use the slide or the roll as something more of a defensive thing where you're trying to like get away from gunfire and you're trying to get into cover, Of course, you're going to be using it while navigating around the map, but like I don't really ever use the roll or the juke boots or anything like that in a super overly aggressive manner. Therefore, the logic of like making a mechanic where you can slide and shoot isn't going to resonate with the majority of the player base that actually plays a little bit more of a defensive style whenever they're being pushed by people instead of like pushing back. I don't know. It's just very interesting. I don't have any complaints with it. It's just like, it's a very interesting mechanic, and I haven't found any real positive uses for it yet. You can slide around corners and you can shoot, but like they hard lock you where you can only turn so far. So it's like, unless you're sliding directly at the enemy, then you're 9 times out of 10 going to slide right past them. The things I don't like about the slide is the fact that you have no ability to gain momentum. That's one of the biggest negatives. That and the forced crouching thing that happens are the biggest negatives in my opinion. Whenever you're standing still, if you hit the run button like a millisecond before you hit the roll button, it'll initiate the slide, right? But you go the same distance as if you would if you're full sprint running across the map and then you trigger the slide. There's no momentum gain. There's no nothing. They should have made it to where you can actually go in and do slide cancels instead of like shooting while you're actually sliding. To me, that would have been a much better mechanic. If you could gain momentum as you were running, you know, naturally as you would, and that would increase your slide distance, but you could cancel out of it at any time, then like that would have been a much better mechanic. If they took the shooting out of it and they made it to where you could do that, where basically it's like a roll, but you can interrupt it at will and be able to use that as a way to change directions and a way to actually slide into cover that you want to be into, things like that. People are going to predict a certain distance whenever you're doing the slide, and you could stop that sooner and you would be able to use that to your advantage. That to me is 10 times more useful than being able to shoot while you're sliding, at least in my opinion. For a perk set, I think her perks are fine. Like I said, I would slot out Gadgeteer with Energized. It would be nice if they would bump her Vade up just a little bit to make her a little bit faster. I think that the healing perks are right where they need to be. If they bumped one of them up to Legendary, then I think it would make her revive just a little bit too fast. Which would be okay. Like, she doesn't have any ranged healing ability, so I don't think it would be a complete negative, but it would make her very, very powerful, I think. With the gadgets, I mean, I would really like to see the impact grenade get brought back, in my opinion. The healing station is fine. The EMPs are great for this character to have EMPs, but for them to make a duelist rogue be played very aggressively with an ability that heals herself like Chalk, and they took her only offensive gadget away, feels very, very bad. I know she's a support, I get it, but like I said, so is Runway, right? And she had Semtex and Trip Mines for how long? So it would be nice if they would give her the impact grenade back, possibly slot the healing station out, leave the EMPs, and I think that she would be fine. Overall, she's a decent character. I don't think she's the greatest character since Sliced Bread. She's definitely not the greatest character to ever be released after waiting for over a year for a new character to come out. Like, on that scale, I'd give her a 1. How good is this character after waiting a year for a new character? 1 out of 10. Overall, how do I think that she slots into Rogue Company as far as balance, you know, her mechanics and things like that? I'd give her a 4 or 5 out of 10. I don't think she's anywhere near the greatest. I don't think she's anywhere near the worst. I think she slots in right in the middle. But be sure to let me know what you think in the comments down below. What are your thoughts on Vivi? What are your thoughts on her abilities, her passive ability, even her weapons, even though I didn't dive into them here, gadgets, perks, the whole 9 yards? What are your thoughts? Be sure to let me know in the comments down below. Also, be sure to check that description for links to Facebook, Discord, and Twitter. Those are the places to contact me. If you haven't already, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. If you've already subscribed to the channel, then consider hitting that join button to become one of the 256 crew members. Lastly, on Thursdays around 11 p.m. Central Time, Sundays around 10 a.m. Central Time, I will be streaming here on YouTube. So if you are interested and available, please feel free to stop by and say hello there. Thanks for watching, guys. You gotta touch it. I'm almost out of ammo. This is bad. Oh, that tear gas just messed me up so bad. What's gonna happen? Everybody's down on the point. Nobody's bleeding out. We won. That was so weird. It was like neck and neck, dude. No lie. Wow. So they lowered the fire rate of the D40. And
how bad?
I mean, dude, it shoots about this. It's basically the LMPX.
So it's dog shit now.
Well, compared to the LMPX and to the rest of the SMGs, like it's not the greatest. Hold on. What's that?